So you own a business, you've got to get around, you've got to buy a vehicle, and you're not sure whether you buy an electric vehicle, you buy a pickup, you buy a van. What do you do? How do you do it? I've got to get around. It's all a minefield. Do I get tax deduction? Don't I get tax deduction? What's he talking about? Benefit in kind? Help! It's all too confusing. Well, hold on. I'm going to try and simplify it for you and give you 5 ways to buy that vehicle. So, first thing you need to consider is it going to be a commercial vehicle or is it going to be a car? A pickup, believe it or not, might not be a commercial vehicle. It might be a car. And the reason that's important is benefit in kind, because a benefit in kind for a commercial vehicle is a flat rate. It's about £3,500 currently. Who knows what it'll be in the future, but it's about that. If it's a car, on the other hand, then that's based on the emissions of the vehicle. And emissions and pickups are 2 mutually exclusive words that should never be put into the same sentence. The reason being that emissions of a pickup are really bad. So you've decided the difference between a commercial vehicle and a car. And you go, okay, I've got to do this. I'm going to have a car. Thing to remember with cars and companies is the lower the emissions of the vehicle, the better it is. And by that, I mean things like if it's electric, it's really good. It's really good at the moment because tax rates can change. We all know that we've gone through this period of having lots of different people telling us about tax and what it is. But electric cars at the moment are really good and they kind of work. The difficulty is if you need to drive on a regular basis from, I don't know, Brighton to, I don't know, Manchester, the range of that vehicle is not going to get you there. And then you got to think about charging and all of the stuff that goes with it. And you might just go, it's too complicated, give up. You then need to think about the emissions of what you're buying. Okay, so we've put the car in the business. We've done that. We've looked at it and gone, okay, I've got to pay some tax based on the emissions of the vehicle. Well, what are emissions? CO2. Every car now, by law, has to come with CO2 emissions. And that governs a percentage, and that governs the percentage multiplied by the list price of the vehicle. That's right, I said the list price. I didn't say the price that you've managed to negotiate with the dealer to get £10,000 off. His Majesty's Revenue and Customs, I should say, don't care. All they care about is the list price of the vehicle. That's the number you need to bear in mind. That's the number that's going to drive any tax. Do you have the cash to buy a vehicle? That answer to that might be yes, it might be no. And then there are lots of different options that you can look at. Do you look at contract hire? Contract hire means you're effectively renting the vehicle for the life of the agreement. That could be 4 years, that could be 2 years, whatever it happens to be. You don't own the vehicle. When that contract comes to an end, you give the vehicle back. That's the end of it, plus maybe some charges if it's scuffed or whatever it happens to be. But you're giving the vehicle back. You've got no value. If you have that by way of hire purchase or lease purchase or a bank loan, or you've used cash, then at the end of any agreement or a period of time, you own the vehicle. It's going to give you some value back that you can then either roll into the next vehicle or just keep and allow it to depreciate going forward. So you've decided on your means of finance. The next question is, how do I get tax relief on that money? Do I get tax relief on that money? Let's deal with contract hire quickly first because it's the easiest one to understand. Whatever you pay as a repayment is a tax deduction. Done, finished, move on. You get 50% of the VAT back if it's a car. And that, in essence, puts contract hire to bed, move it to one side, thank you very much. But what happens if you decide to buy it by loan, cash, HP, lease purchase? Do you get tax deduction for that? You don't get a tax deduction for the repayments. But let me give you an example of buying an electric car. For instance, that electric car happens to be £60,000. I've picked numbers out of the air. There are various prices for electric cars. They can differ. But let's say the electric car is 60 grand. Because it's an electric car, currently, you get 100% allowance against your tax. That's right, 100%. So if the vehicle's 60,000, you get £60,000 of deduction against your profit, which reduces your tax bill. Things to remember with that, it's only in year 1. You're not going to get that in year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5. But you do get 100% deduction. If it's not electric, it's not so favourable at that point, and it could be 8% of the value. That's not a massive number, but On the other hand, it means it's not being paid from your personal cash flow, it's being paid from the business cash flow. The important thing to remember if you're buying a car in your business is the fuel can be deducted, the road fund license can be deducted, the insurance can be deducted, the repairs can be deducted. It's a vehicle owned by the business, therefore the business pays those expenses. If you don't put that vehicle in the business, you're kind of left with one choice, and that's a mileage log and charging miles to your business at a fixed rate. Bear in mind with that fixed rate, it's been the fixed rate for about 20 years. So vehicles in a business are not scary. They're a bit complicated, and you probably need to take advice to make sure you go the right way. Because if you don't do that, the consequences can be huge. Not only in terms of things that you thought you were going to get back, but you don't, but also the costs going forward. Buying a vehicle is a big purchase, and it's a big cost to your business. At Christmas or any other time of year, you want to know that there are other deductions that you can make that will help, customers, suppliers, or your employees. So why not check out our video about Christmas gifts with the link here.